And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today I'm talking about a game called Last Will, which is in essence a game with the theme of Brewster's Millions, which is a movie that came out. And everybody in the game has gotten a certain amount of money that you've inherited, and you're trying to get rid of all of it so that you can win. Get rid of all the money so that you can win an even bigger amount of money. So in this game, you start with a certain amount of money, which is the same for all the players, and you're trying to get rid of it in extravagant means. Take your dog to the theater with you, whatever you can do to spend money, to let houses fall into disarray, and whoever spends their money first, the quickest, is the winner. Let's take a look. So here we have the player boards for the game. There's one player board here, and this one here will change depending on how many players are in the game. So this is a 4-player game, this is a 5-player game, and then the one I was showing you was a 3-player. So let's just look at the 4-player. This extra board is just used for the other players. There are several decks of cards that come with the game. We have a property deck, we have a companion deck, we have special events deck, we have, I don't even remember what this deck is called, but they're like extra things that you can have. And then this is a special deck. And then there's a couple wild cards down here. And what you'll do at the beginning of each round is you can see that there's spots for cards. And so you're going to take one of these cards and you're going to place them face up in each spot. Sometimes a different card is placed in each spot depending on what round of the game it is. So let's say this is round 1. These are the cards that will be placed on the table for round 1. And also players are going to get a few cards in their hand to start the game. Now players have their own player board, and we're going to take a look at these player boards later, but each player will get one of those. And then players are also, they're a specific color, so they're going to get one of these tokens. And what players are going to do is they're going to put a piece up here at the top on one of these spots. So let's take a closer look, because this is a very interesting part of the game. When you put up here, there's a couple things. When you place it there, you will immediately draw that many cards from the 4 main decks. Not the special deck, but from the 4 main decks. You will also get 2 errand boys here. Here you get 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. So you get errand boys, and I'll explain those in a second. And then that's how many actions you will get that turn. So you can see it goes from 1 all the way up to 3. And it also is turn order. So that might matter too. I can go here and be first in turn order, but I'm only going to get 1 action. If you notice over here on the side, this is to keep track of how many rounds are in the game. Now, you have errand boys. And the errand boys is done before anyone takes any actions. And what you'll do with errand boys is pretty simple. You're going to take an errand boy on your turn, and you can claim one of these cards that's face up. If you don't like any of the cards, you can place it on your color and draw any of the 4 main decks, the top card. You can go here and just spend $2. Or you can go here, and this gives you an attachment for your main player board. Remember I said you have your player board, and basically this gives you another spot to put another card on your board. So you can continue making your player board bigger and better. And then the last thing you can do is right here, and this is where there's 4 different kinds of properties in the game, and you can change the values of those if you go into that spot. So those are the things you can do with your errand boys. After everyone has their errand boys, the main bulk of the game is in regards to the actions that you have. Now, you're going to be focusing on your player board for these. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do. One thing you can do is you can build a property. Here's a farm. Now, it's really important how many actions you have, and there's plenty of ways to get extra actions. But each of these, when you put a card down, that counts as an action. But then there's other things you can do. Putting a farm down costs $10, which is great, because like I said at the beginning, your idea is to get rid of as much money as you can. However, you're going to have to sell this farm before the game is over for $10. And I'll mention that now, that properties are worth money, and you need to get rid of properties if you possibly can. So why would you build the farm, since it's, you build it for 10 and sell it for 10? Well, for one thing, it is possible up here to buy it. See, right now it's 7, so I might be able to spend $13 for the property, and then later on when I sell the property, maneuver it so that it's only worth $7. So there I would, have $6 loss, which in real life would be terrible, but in this game is great. But anyway, back to the property. Here, the thing about the farm is, every turn I can take one action and spend $1 or £1 to keep up the farm. Even better yet, later on, I might be able to spend an action and use this horse card, which would allow me to stick a horse token on the card right there. And now for an action, it costs 3 to upkeep the farm. And then if I'm even better yet, if I get a dog later on, I can then do it for 7. So that farm is going to be a gold mine for me in a sense, because every turn I can use one action and use that farm. And when I do that, I move it down here so that I know I'm not doing the same card twice. Now, that's a farm, but there are other properties involved in the game too. Like, for example, this mansion. Now, when we take a look at this mansion, we're going to put one of these little really cool gold pieces on it to show the value of that mansion. So when I build the mansion, it's 13, plus or minus those property values at the top. And the mansion's 3 to upkeep. But what I'm trying to do is if I don't upkeep it each turn, the value is going to go down. So I can take a big loss on this mansion. That's fantastic, as you know. Now, there are other things that you can do too. These are one-shot cards. These aren't placed on the board really. You just play them, and for example, this one here is a ball. And I can spend as many actions as I want, maybe 2 actions to lose $4, or 5 actions to spend $13. There's ones that don't really give you a choice. There's just something small. Sometimes these cards can be played along with a companion card, like a boat trip, and I want to take my dog with me. So I use an extra action to take the dog with me, and now that costs me 4 rather than 2. So that's pretty funny. I especially enjoy being able to go for dinner and taking your dog out with you. Then, another thing that you can do is not just add buildings to your place, but you can add companions here. Now, companions usually give you a special ability. Now, their special ability is a pain in the neck, but like, for example, this guy here, the coachman, just anytime I use a card with that token on it, he's going to cost me an extra $1. And there might be more of those as the game progresses. Or a reservation, and anytime I want, I can take a reservation at my restaurant. And if I can get some chefs, I can put these pieces out. Speaking of chefs, dogs, horses, and companions, that's what this wild card earlier is. It can be any one of those. You can draw from this blue deck and hope to get the one you need, but that wild card is very useful. And then there's other special cards, like, for example, this old friend who gives me an extra action per turn. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep going each round in that same fashion, taking your actions, spending money as much as you can. If you manage to get rid of all your money and get rid of all your properties, because you need to sell them so you're completely bankrupt, then the round will finish out, and hopefully the one, it's you, but whoever's in the most debt wins. Otherwise, after the end of 7 complete rounds, whoever has the least money is the winner. You know, I gotta be honest, I really like this game because of the theme itself. I wonder if the theme had been different, if I was trying to get money and build houses up and collect rent, and I wonder if I would have enjoyed it as much. As it was, I thought the theme was hilarious. Yes, I'm taking my dog and my chefs along with me on my trip. And so I really enjoyed it. The beginning sequence with the errand boys and, picking your actions, that's a neat concept. It's a little wonky on how it works, but once the game gets going, you just have to remember all the time, hey, this costs an action, moving a card costs an action, doing this costs an action. But after that, there's different strategies you can take. Am I going to take the farmhouses and just keep upkeeping them and pour money out that way? Or will I go for these big shot events and just try to pour as many actions? Or buy real estate and let it go down and then try to rearrange it to make it even worth less? And I feel like there's a lot of different variants to the game. And so Last Will is one that was kind of a breath of fresh air for me. Not just the theme, but just the way the mechanics work together. I felt like I was doing the theme. I felt like I'm letting a house fall into disrepair. And there's a certain little bit of evilness, I'm just letting this thing fall apart. So, Last Will, it's a good idea. It's a good, solid game. Seems to work well with all the numbers of players. There's some interaction, not that much, other than taking spots that other people want, but just you'll find a lot of just trash talk or just commentary about letting this, or I never go anywhere, without my favorite horses, and my dog is coming in the theater, sir. Things like that. It can really increase the humor, but also the enjoyment of the game. Last Will is certainly a game I'll recommend.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.